The town of Cedar Ridge had forgotten what real danger looked like. Until three leather-clad strangers rolled into Murphy's diner on a Tuesday morning, and a quiet farmer reminded everyone that some men are forged in fire that never truly dies. This is the story of Marcus Chen, a man the town wrote off as just another washed-up veteran trying to grow corn. They had no idea they were living next to a ghost who'd once painted entire city blocks red in Fallujah. Marcus had been running Riverside Farm for 8 years. Every morning, same routine, black coffee at 5 a.m., check the irrigation systems, tend to his 120 acres of corn and soybeans. The locals saw a middle-aged Asian man in dirty overalls who barely spoke above a whisper. What they didn't see were the scars that spiderwebbed across his back. Or the way his eyes constantly swept every room he entered, cataloging exits and threats. Or how his calloused hands, gentle with seedlings, once dismantled an entire insurgent cell in 48 hours. The town sheriff, Bill Matthews, knew bits and pieces. Enough to know that Marcus Chen wasn't just any veteran. But in Cedar Ridge, population 3,200, legends fade into local folklore pretty quick. That Tuesday started like any other. Marcus finished his morning rounds and drove his beat-up Ford into town for breakfast at Murphy's diner. Sarah Murphy always had his usual ready, 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast, black coffee. No conversation needed. But today was different. Today, the Crimson Reapers had decided Cedar Ridge looked like easy money. The first Harley announced itself 3 blocks away. Deep, throaty rumble that made windows vibrate. Then came the second. Then the third. Danny Razor Kowalski led the pack. 6'4", 280 pounds of muscle and bad intentions, with a rap sheet that read like a crime thriller. Armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, suspected murder in 2 states. The Crimson Reapers weren't your weekend warrior motorcycle club. They were a criminal organization with chapters across the Midwest. Following Razor were his 2 lieutenants, Viper Martinez, a wiry psychopath who collected ears as trophies, and Tommy Tank Morrison, an ex-boxer who'd beaten 3 men to death with his bare hands. They'd been casing small towns for weeks, looking for the perfect score. Cedar Ridge fit the profile: isolated, minimal police presence, probably soft targets with decent money hidden away. The 3 bikes pulled up to Murphy's diner like sharks sensing blood in the water. Marcus was halfway through his breakfast when the rumble reached his ears. His fork paused mid-bite. That specific sound pattern, 3 bikes, different engine modifications, riding information. Not tourists. Not enthusiasts. Hunters. The bell above Murphy's door chimed as the 3 bikers walked in. Razor filled the doorway, his presence immediately shifting the diner's atmosphere from morning peaceful to electric tension. "Morning, folks," Razor announced, his voice carrying the kind of casual menace that made experienced criminals nervous. "Beautiful little town you got here." The diner went silent. Sarah Murphy gripped her coffee pot tighter. Old Pete Johnson, the retired bank manager, suddenly found his eggs very interesting. Marcus continued eating, but his peripheral vision tracked every movement. Razor's right hand rested on what was clearly a concealed weapon. Viper was scanning the room, counting exits and potential witnesses. Tank positioned himself near the door, classic control formation. Professional. Experienced. Dangerous. "We're just passing through," Razor continued, sliding into a booth. "Heard this was a friendly town. Real neighborly folks." Sarah approached with trembling hands. "What can I get you gentlemen?" "Information," Razor smiled, but it never reached his eyes. "See, we're looking for someone. Someone who might have some money tucked away. Heard the bank president lives around here." Pete Johnson's face went pale. Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Now," Razor leaned forward, "we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the fun way. But either way, we're walking out of here with what we came for." That's when Marcus Chen made his first mistake. He looked up. Razor's eyes met Marcus's for exactly 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, something primal passed between them. Recognition. Razor saw controlled violence barely contained beneath the surface. Marcus saw predatory intelligence evaluating him as a potential threat. "You got something to say, farmer?" Razor's tone shifted, attention laser-focused on Marcus. Marcus set down his fork with deliberate calm. "Just enjoying my breakfast." "That right?" Razor stood up slowly, all 6'4" of him. "You look like someone who might have opinions about strangers in town." "I don't have opinions about much of anything." But Razor was already walking over, Tank and Viper flanking him like wolves. The diner held its collective breath. "See, I got a problem with quiet types," Razor said, stopping beside Marcus's table. "They make me nervous. And when I get nervous, bad things happen to good people." Marcus took a sip of his coffee. His hands were steady. Too steady. You know what I think? Razor leaned down, putting his face inches from Marcus's. I think you're the type who might cause problems. Maybe call the sheriff. Maybe try to play hero. I'm not the hero type. No. Razor's hand moved to his jacket. Then you won't mind if we continue our business? Sarah Murphy whimpered from behind the counter. Pete Johnson was slowly reaching for his phone. Leave them alone, Marcus said quietly. The words hung in the air like a lit fuse. Razor straightened up, genuinely surprised. Excuse me. I said leave them alone. Take whatever you want from me, but leave them alone. Viper laughed, a high, unpleasant sound. Farmer wants to be a hero after all. Not a hero, Marcus stood up slowly, his movements fluid and controlled. Just someone who's tired of watching innocent people get hurt. Tank cracked his knuckles. Boss, let me handle the old man. But Razor held up a hand. Something in Marcus's posture had changed. The slouched shoulders straightened. The shuffling gait became balanced, centered. The quiet farmer was gone, replaced by something else entirely. You sure you want to do this, old man? Razor asked. Marcus looked around the diner. Sarah cowering behind the counter. Pete with his hand frozen over his phone. 3 other customers pressed against the walls like frightened animals. Yeah, Marcus said. I'm sure. What happened next took exactly 47 seconds. Tank charged first, 280 pounds of Xboxer throwing a haymaker that would have caved in most men's skulls. Marcus stepped inside the punch, drove his elbow into Tank's solar plexus, then followed with a knife hand strike to the throat. Tank dropped like a stone, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Viper pulled a butterfly knife, flicking it open with practiced ease. But Marcus was already moving. He grabbed a ceramic coffee mug from the table, shattered it against Viper's wrist, then drove the jagged edge into the nerve cluster at his elbow. The knife clattered to the floor as Viper screamed. Razor finally managed to clear his weapon, a .45 automatic. Razor hit the floor unconscious before his finger could find the trigger. 47 seconds. 3 professional criminals neutralized. The only sound in the diner was Marcus's steady breathing. He straightened his shirt, picked up his coffee cup, and took a sip. Sarah, he said calmly, might want to call Sheriff Matthews. Sheriff Matthews arrived 8 minutes later to find 3 unconscious bikers zip-tied with extension cords from Murphy's kitchen. Marcus was back at his table, finishing his eggs like nothing had happened. Jesus Christ, Marcus, Matthews breathed, looking at the carnage. What the hell happened here? Misunderstanding, Marcus replied. Tank was conscious but couldn't speak, his throat too damaged. Viper was conscious and wouldn't stop screaming about his shattered elbow. Razor was still out cold with what the paramedics later diagnosed as a severe concussion. Matthews knelt beside Razor and checked his wallet. Illinois driver's license under a fake name, but the tattoos told the real story. Crimson Reapers. Known associates of the Kowalski crime family. Marcus, Matthews said slowly, these aren't just random troublemakers. These are genuine bad guys. The kind that show up on FBI wanted posters. Marcus shrugged. They bothered Sarah. Sarah Murphy was still shaking behind the counter. Sheriff, they were going to hurt Pete. Going to rob him. Marcus. Marcus saved us all. Matthews looked at the scene again. 3 dangerous criminals taken down by a quiet farmer who grew corn and minded his own business. Except Marcus Chen had never been just a farmer. All right, Matthews sighed. I'm going to need statements from everyone. But first, Marcus, we need to talk. 20 minutes later, they sat in Matthews's patrol car while the paramedics loaded the unconscious bikers into ambulances. How long were you going to keep pretending to be just a farmer? Matthews asked. Forever, if possible. Well, that's shot to hell now. You know what's going to happen when this hits the news? When the FBI runs those bikers' prints and finds out they were taken down by Marcus fucking Chen. Marcus winced at the use of his full name. That's right, Matthews continued. I did my homework after you moved here. Master Sergeant Marcus Chen, 75th Ranger Regiment. 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq. Silver Star, Purple Heart, and a whole bunch of medals they don't talk about publicly. That was a long time ago. Bullshit. What I just saw in there. That wasn't rusty. That was muscle memory from someone who's done this dance 100 times. Marcus stared out at his truck, at the normal quiet life he'd built over 8 years. I just wanted to grow corn, Bill. I know. But sometimes the past doesn't let you go that easy. The FBI arrived that afternoon. Special Agent Jennifer Torres had been tracking the Crimson Reapers across 3 states, trying to build a RICO case that would stick. Finding 3 of their top enforcers gift-wrapped in a small-town diner was like Christmas morning. "Mr. Chen," she said, sitting across from Marcus in the sheriff's station, "I'm going to be honest with you. These men you took down? They're connected to some very serious people. People who don't forget when their soldiers get embarrassed." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because Razor Kowalski has 17 confirmed kills. Viper Martinez once tortured a man for 6 hours before killing him. Tank Morrison beat a federal witness to death in protective custody. And you dropped all 3 of them like they were drunk teenagers." Marcus said nothing. "Your military record is mostly classified," Torres continued, "but what I can see is impressive. Multiple deployments to some very dark places. Commendations for operations that officially never happened." "I'm retired." "Men like you don't retire, Mr. Chen. You just change uniforms." But Torres wasn't there to threaten him. She was there to warn him. "The Crimson Reapers have a code," she explained. "You hurt one of theirs, they hurt 10 of yours. They're going to come for you. And they're going to come hard." That evening, Marcus sat on his porch, watching the sun set over his cornfields. 8 years of peace. 8 years of normal. Gone in 47 seconds. His phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. "We know where you live, soldier boy. We know about Sarah Murphy. We know about Sheriff Matthews. We know about your quiet little life. 3 days." Marcus deleted the message and set the phone aside. He'd expected this. Sheriff Matthews pulled up the gravel driveway, his patrol car kicking up dust. He climbed the porch steps slowly, looking older than his 58 years. "FBI says the Reapers have put a bounty on you," Matthews said without preamble. $50,000. Dead or alive, but they prefer alive so they can make an example. "I figured. They're going to send more than 3 next time, Marcus. Maybe a dozen. Maybe more." Marcus nodded. "Probably." "So what's the plan?" "We can get you into witness protection. New identity, new life, far away from here." "And let them hurt Sarah? Pete? You? Everyone in town who might have seen their faces." Matthews sat down in the other rocking chair. "That's not your responsibility." "Isn't it?" They sat in silence for a while, watching the corn sway in the evening breeze. "How many are coming?" Matthews finally asked. "Too many for you to handle legally." "That's not what I asked." Marcus looked at his friend, because that's what Bill Matthews had become over 8 years. A friend. The first real friend he'd had since leaving the army. 12, Marcus said quietly. "Maybe 15. They'll come at night, probably tomorrow. Fast and loud, trying to overwhelm through shock and violence." "And you're going to what?" "Take on 15 professional killers by yourself." "If I have to." That night, Marcus didn't sleep. Instead, he walked his property, seeing it with different eyes. Not farmland, but a battlefield. Every tree, every building, every piece of equipment became part of a tactical equation. The farmhouse sat on a small rise, giving good sightlines in all directions. The barn provided cover and concealment. The irrigation ditches could channel movement or serve as firing positions. The corn maze he built for local kids every Halloween suddenly looked like perfect cover for flanking maneuvers. In his basement, behind a false wall, Marcus opened a footlocker he hadn't touched in 8 years. His old gear. Body armor, night vision, communications equipment. And weapons. Lots of weapons. He selected what he needed: M4 carbine with ACOG scope, Remington 870 shotgun, Sig Sauer P226, tactical vest, extra magazines, flashbangs, smoke grenades. Tools of a trade he tried to forget. At 3 a.m., Sheriff Matthews showed up with coffee and a grim expression. "FBI pulled out," he announced. "Orders from above. Officially, you're on your own." "Unofficially." Matthews set a large duffel bag on the kitchen table. "Unofficially, I cleaned out the evidence locker. Weapons we've confiscated over the years. Might as well put them to good use." Marcus unzipped the bag. 2 assault rifles, a sniper rifle, boxes of ammunition, tactical gear. "Bill, you could lose your job for this. Your pension. Everything." "Maybe. But 8 years ago, you moved to this town and never caused a minute of trouble. You helped neighbors with their harvests, fixed broken equipment for free, donated vegetables to the food bank every year. Far as I'm concerned, you're one of us now." Matthews paused, looking out at the dark fields. "Besides," he continued, "I've seen what the Reapers do to towns they want to control. Drugs, protection rackets, violence. They'll turn Cedar Ridge into a nightmare. Better to end it here. The next morning brought an unnatural quiet to Cedar Ridge. Word had spread through the small-town grapevine. Something bad was coming. Businesses closed early. Families packed up and drove to relatives in other towns. The smart ones, anyway. But some stayed. Sarah Murphy refused to leave her diner. "This is my place," she said firmly. "I'm not running from thugs." Pete Johnson stayed too, along with a handful of other residents. Old-timers who remembered when communities stood together against threats. Agent Torres returned, officially to observe federal interest in the situation. Unofficially, she set up a command post in the sheriff's station with enough firepower to level a city block. "This is insane," she told Marcus as they reviewed the tactical situation. "You're going to get yourself killed, and probably take half the town with you." "Maybe. But if I run, they'll eventually track me down anyway. And they'll hurt innocent people to get to me. This way, it ends here. There are other ways." "No," Marcus cut her off. "There aren't. I've been down this road before, Agent Torres. Sometimes violence is the only language some people understand." As the sun began to set, Marcus took one last walk through his cornfields. 8 years of careful cultivation. Rows upon rows of healthy stalks, ready for harvest in a few weeks. He'd probably never see that harvest. But that was okay. Some things were worth more than corn. The motorcycles announced themselves at 11:47 p.m. 15 bikes this time, riding hard and fast down the county road toward Riverside Farm. Their headlights cut through the darkness like angry stars. Marcus was ready. He'd positioned himself in the barn's hayloft with a sniper rifle, night vision scope painting the world in green and black. Sheriff Matthews held the farmhouse with Agent Torres, both armed with assault rifles. 3 other deputies had positioned themselves around the property perimeter. The lead bike was a massive Harley with custom chrome, piloted by a mountain of a man in leather and chains. Vincent Sledgehammer Kowalski, Razor's older brother and president of the Illinois chapter. Behind him rode 14 of the most dangerous criminals in the Midwest. They weren't here for arrest. They weren't here for intimidation. They were here for revenge, pure and simple. The bikes roared up Marcus's gravel driveway in formation, engines creating a thunder that could be heard for miles. They spread out in a semicircle around the farmhouse, headlights blazing like a wall of light. Sledgehammer killed his engine and climbed off his bike. 6'6", 320 pounds, with arms like tree trunks and a face that looked like it had been carved from granite with a dull chisel. "Marcus Chen." His voice boomed across the night. "You hurt my brother. Now we're going to hurt you." Silence from the farmhouse. "I know you're in there, soldier boy. Come out and maybe we'll make it quick." More silence. Sledgehammer nodded to his men. They dismounted and began spreading out, weapons appearing from jackets and saddlebags. Automatic rifles, shotguns, pistols. Enough firepower to level the farmhouse. That's when Marcus made his move. The sniper rifle's crack split the night like thunder. Sledgehammer's lieutenant, a psychopath called Butcher Williams, dropped with a .308 round through his center mass. Before the sound had finished echoing, Marcus had cycled the bolt and fired again. Another Reaper fell, then another. Panic rippled through their ranks as they tried to locate the shooter. "The barn!" someone screamed. "He's in the fucking barn." Automatic weapons opened up, muzzle flashes strobing in the darkness as hundreds of rounds chewed through the barn's wooden walls. But Marcus was already moving, sliding down the back ladder as bullets whined overhead. He grabbed the M4 carbine and sprinted for the irrigation ditch that ran behind the barn. More gunfire erupted from the farmhouse as Sheriff Matthews and Agent Torres joined the fight, forcing the Reapers to split their attention. The tactical situation was chaos, exactly what Marcus wanted. In chaos, training and experience mattered more than numbers. He low-crawled through the irrigation ditch, using it like a trench to get behind the Reapers' position. Their muzzle flashes painted targets in the darkness. Marcus rose from the ditch like a ghost, M4 carbine spitting controlled bursts. 3 more Reapers dropped before they realized they were being flanked. By then, Marcus was moving again, using the corn rows for concealment as he repositioned. Sledgehammer roared orders, trying to restore tactical control, but his men were rattled. They'd expected to roll over a small-town farmer, not engage a professional soldier on his own ground. The battle raged for 20 minutes. Gunfire strobed through the darkness as both sides maneuvered for advantage. The Reapers had superior numbers and firepower, but Marcus had terrain knowledge and professional training. He used every trick he'd learned in 10 years of combat. Smoke grenades to break contact when cornered. Flashbangs to disorient attackers. Hit-and-run tactics that left the Reapers confused and bleeding. But slowly, inevitably, they began to box him in. Too many guns, too many angles to cover. Marcus found himself pinned in the corn maze, automatic weapons fire chopping through the stalks around him. "Got you now, soldier boy." Sledgehammer's voice boomed from the darkness. Nowhere left to run. That's when Sheriff Matthews made his play. The patrol car came screaming across the field, emergency lights blazing, siren wailing. Matthews drove straight into the Reaper's flank, crushing 2 motorcycles and scattering the rest. Agent Torres followed in her SUV, federal agents pouring out with tactical gear and serious weapons. The tide of battle shifted as professional law enforcement joined the fight. But Sledgehammer wasn't finished. The massive biker had worked his way around to the farmhouse, where he kicked in the front door and disappeared inside. Marcus realized with cold horror what the Reaper president was after. Leverage. Hostages. The farmhouse connected to a root cellar where Sarah Murphy and Pete Johnson were taking shelter. Marcus sprinted across the battlefield, ignoring the bullets that whined past his head. He burst through the farmhouse's back door to find Sledgehammer dragging Sarah Murphy up from the cellar, a .44 Magnum pressed to her head. "There's my boy." Sledgehammer grinned, revealing gold teeth. "Drop your weapon, soldier boy, or the pretty lady gets her brains painted on the wall." Marcus lowered his rifle slowly. "Let her go. Your fight's with me." "Oh, I plan to kill you too. But first, you're going to suffer. Going to watch everyone you care about die slow and painful." Sarah whimpered, tears streaming down her face. Behind Sledgehammer, Pete Johnson was crawling up from the cellar, blood streaming from a head wound. "You see," Sledgehammer continued, "my brother Razor ain't dead. But he's in a coma, thanks to you. Doctors say he might never wake up. So I'm going to put you in a coma too. Permanent one." Marcus calculated angles, distances, timing. Sledgehammer was 6 feet away, using Sarah as a human shield. Professional hostage situation, no clean shot possible. But Marcus Chen hadn't survived 3 combat tours by playing by other people's rules. He looked Sledgehammer in the eye and smiled. "Your brother was sloppy. Stupid. Just like you." Sledgehammer's face flushed red with rage. "What did you say?" "I said your brother was weak. Went down like a punk bitch. Just like his big brother's about to." The insult hit home. Sledgehammer's grip on Sarah loosened slightly as he leaned forward, fury overriding tactical sense. That was all Marcus needed. He dove forward, not for Sledgehammer, but for Sarah, tackling her to the ground as the .44 Magnum roared. The bullet passed through the space where her head had been an instant before. Marcus rolled, came up with his sidearm, and put 3-round center mass into Sledgehammer's chest. The massive biker stumbled backward, surprise replacing rage on his face. "Impossible," he gasped, looking down at the spreading blood. "I had you." "No," Marcus said quietly, standing over him. "You had a farmer. But farmers protect what's theirs." Sledgehammer collapsed, 320 pounds of criminal crashing to the farmhouse floor. The shooting stopped at 12:43 a.m. When the smoke cleared, 7 Reapers were dead, 6 were wounded and under arrest, and 2 had fled into the night on damaged motorcycles. The Crimson Reapers Illinois chapter had effectively been destroyed. Marcus sat on his porch steps, watching the paramedics and crime scene techs work. His cornfields were torn up by vehicles and littered with shell casings. The barn had more holes than a screen door. The farmhouse would need extensive repairs. But Cedar Ridge was safe. Sarah was alive. Sheriff Matthews was alive. The town could go back to being boring. Agent Torres approached, looking tired but satisfied. "Hell of a thing, Mr. Chen. FBI's going to want to debrief you extensively." "I figured. There's going to be fallout from this. Media attention. Other criminal organizations might take an interest in the man who destroyed the Reapers." Marcus nodded. He'd thought about that during the planning phase. His quiet life was over, probably forever. "There's another option," Torres continued. "Department of Justice has a consulting position. Counterterrorism work. Traveling assignments. Good pay, federal benefits." "You offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a way to use your skills for something positive. Instead of hiding from what you are, embrace it. Help us stop the next Sledgehammer before he hurts innocent people." Marcus looked out at his damaged fields. 8 years of trying to be someone else. 8 years of pretending the warrior inside him had died in the desert. Maybe it was time to stop pretending. 6 months later, Marcus Chen walked into a briefing room in Quantico, Virginia. His hair was shorter, his posture straighter. The farmer was gone, replaced by the federal consultant who'd helped take down 3 major criminal organizations in the past half year. But every weekend, he drove back to Cedar Ridge. The corn was growing again. Sarah Murphy had his breakfast ready every Saturday morning. Sheriff Matthews always had coffee and war stories. Some men are farmers who learned to fight. Others are warriors who tried to grow corn. Marcus Chen had finally figured out which one he was. And Cedar Ridge, the quiet little town that had been terrorized by criminals for one night, had become the place where legends were born. Because sometimes, when evil rides into town on motorcycles and leather, it takes a ghost to send them back to hell. The last thing Sledgehammer had seen before dying was the look in Marcus Chen's eyes. Not farmer. Not victim. Not hero. Just a man who decided that some things were worth fighting for. They thought he was a washed-up farmer. They were wrong. Dead wrong.